and Near Squeak. Berlioz, Toulouse, and Marie found it far too cold to play outdoors. The wind was sharp, and the air carried a frosty bite that made their whiskers twitch and their tails curl tightly around their legs for warmth. After a moment of shivering on the doorstep, they decided to find a warmer place to play. "Let's go to Frou-Frou's stable," suggested Toulouse. "It's warm there, with all the hay and oats." And so they scurried across the yard, their little paws tapping lightly against the stone as they made their way to the stable. Inside, the air smelled of hay, oats, and Frou-Frou the horse, who was often a very friendly companion when she wasn't pulling carriages. "Perfect," Marie exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she looked around the cozy space. "We can play hide-and-seek with Roquefort." Roquefort, their mouse friend, was small and quick. He had a knack for hiding in places no one else could find, and today was no exception. "We'll count to 100, Roquefort." The kittens giggled, covering their eyes with their fluffy paws. "Then you hide. We won't peek, promise." The kittens began to count aloud in unison, their voices rising and falling in rhythm as they bounced on their toes. 1, 2, 3. Roquefort darted off, his tiny feet making no sound as he vanished into the shadows of the stable. As the kittens continued counting, they could hear Roquefort scurrying away, but they didn't dare open their eyes to see where he went. Their tails wiggled with excitement as they neared the magic number 99-100. "Coming," they called out, eager to begin their search. The kittens opened their eyes and started their search with enthusiasm. They peered behind bales of hay, sneaked around large sacks of oats, the very same oats Frou-Frou liked to munch on when she wasn't pulling the carriage for her mistress. But Roquefort was nowhere to be seen. The kitten's excitement slowly turned to confusion. They checked again, moving through every nook and cranny, but the little mouse was still elusive. "This is impossible." Berlioz sighed, sitting on his tail. Where could he be? Just then they heard a faint squeak, a soft sound that was barely audible over the rustling of the hay. "Do you hear that?" Toulouse whispered. Before the kittens could move closer, there was a sudden shift in the air. They looked toward the entrance to the stable and froze in terror. A large, striped cat, its sleek fur gleaming, slipped into the stable, its golden eyes narrowing as it sniffed the air. The cat growled, licking his lips with a slow, deliberate motion. "Do I smell mice?" The kittens' hearts raced. Their little friend Roquefort was hidden somewhere in the stable, and now this mean old cat was here to find him. "Don't come out, Roquefort," Toulouse whispered frantically. "Stay hidden." But Roquefort was too clever for the striped cat. He had found an excellent spot, nestled between the bales of hay, and was completely still. He could hear the cat's heavy paws pacing back and forth, but he held his breath, praying the cat wouldn't smell him out. The striped cat's eyes darted about the stable, scanning every corner with sharp precision. His nose twitched, and he began sniffing around the sacks of oats. "I smell something. Maybe a little mouse," he hissed, knocking over one of the bales of hay with a heavy thud. The kittens hid behind a large sack, holding their breath as they watched the cat paw through the hay, knocking things over, his claws scraping the ground. It was so frightening that Marie could barely watch. Her paws trembled with fear. Suddenly, the door to the stable creaked open. The kittens jumped, startled, and they watched in surprise as the stable groom entered, carrying a nosebag filled with oats for Frou-Frou. The cat froze, his eyes narrowing. He lay flat, watching the man, waiting for his chance. The groom took no notice of the prowling cat, focusing instead on the nosebag, and soon he was off again, leaving the cat alone in the stable. The striped feline immediately began searching again. He toppled another bale of hay with a loud crash, sending the kittens into a panic. "He's going to find Roquefort," Berlioz gasped, his voice tight with worry. The kittens could stand it no longer. "We can't just sit here," cried Toulouse. "We have to warn Frou-Frou." Without another word, they scampered out of the stable, their hearts pounding in their chests. Fro. Frou was outside, happily munching on oats from her nosebag. The kittens rushed over to her, nearly tumbling over themselves as they squealed in alarm. "Frou-Frou, Frou-Frou, the cat's inside. Roquefort is hiding, and he'll be caught," they cried in a rush. Frou-Frou, who had been enjoying her snack, snorted in surprise and looked up. "Something is tickling me," she exclaimed, her nostrils twitching. Before anyone could react, Frou-Frou gave a great sneeze. The nosebag flew off her head and landed in a heap on the ground. And just like that, Roquefort shot out of the nosebag like a tiny rocket, racing across the stable floor with all the speed his little legs could muster. He zoomed past the kittens, who gasped in relief, and darted up to the safety of the house. The 3 kittens stared after him, their hearts still racing. "Phew, that was a near squeak," Roquefort squeaked, catching his breath. "I don't think I'll play hide-and-seek again. It's too dangerous with that cat around." The kittens laughed, though they were just as relieved. They hurried inside the house, where they could all curl up and rest, far from the dangers of the stables. The world seemed safer when they were all together. The scare from the fierce striped cat would soon fade into a funny memory. But one thing was for sure: hide-and-seek was definitely off the menu for the next few days.